Hello, good morning. Welcome to SDST 2026. Um, as you know, my name is Abimbola Steven. I'm going to be taking you through modern web development course, where you master the foundation of websites, able to build a responsive website, understand backend basics, deploy your first project, right? One of the things I would like to clear at the beginning is to let you understand that you need to understand what web actually is and how it started, and how um um it originated to be what people are using to, share their personal information to the world, right? And these are the things that will allow you to understand more and more and more why you're doing what you're doing, like why you're building a website, why do you want to do this, what's the purpose behind this, how does this work, right? Um, and we're going to start a web in its name, which is WW, World Wide Web, right? That's the internet itself. Started in 1991 by a scientist called Tim Berners-Lee. Started as a research towards sharing information. The aim is to share information. The aim was to find a portal, find a means, find a hub whereby uh, system can network each other. When I mean network, I mean connection between devices to devices, right? Can network together to be able, to communicate and share information easily, right? So that's actually the main reason why uh, internet, which is www, started at first. All right. And so from here, we can understand what what really, started this and all of that. So getting started, um, I don't want you to just be memorizing code or just trying to, see yourself as, okay, I want to get this done, I want to get this done. But I want you to find a passion in yourself to be able to, um, put your energy, put your mind into what you're learning, because this is going to help you a lot. Um, Today, we are learning how websites function from the moment someone types a URL, right? Yeah. And these are the tools and environment that you'll be needing. You're going to need a browser, an editor, a software called VS Code, which I'm going to share here. You're going to need, obviously, a server, a local server called XAMPP. You're going to need a tool called WordPress and some design tools. So as we go along in this course, I'm going to be introducing us to this platform one by one. So let's get started. Yeah, how does the web works, right? How does the web works, right? Um, if you ask me how does the web works, right? The major understanding is to understand, okay, how do files get shared, which is what is happening inside the website. How does a file get shared from one device to each other? The moment you type in a URL, right? The moment you type in a URL as a user, right? The moment you type a URL as a user, the first thing that happens is that is requesting for a particular file. Is requesting for an information to be shared, right? And that requesting is just like having a restaurant where you go inside the restaurant and you tell the waiter that, okay, I need rice, I need beans, I need yam. The waiter comes in to take your order, and then they go to the kitchen, they get your food, and they serve you. This is the same way our web works. There's a user that types in a URL on the browser. The after typing it, there's a protocol called HTTP, which is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. This protocol is responsible for identifying whatever name you have given a particular server to be called so that it can respond to you back with a file that you have requested for. So see you as a user as the person ordering for food and see the waiter as um the person serving you the food, which is the server, right? And see the kitchen where the food is being cooked, right? As a form of transfer, HTTP, where the food is being transferred to you, right? So these are the things that, you know, these are the processes that are working, under any circumstances when you are trying to, access the web, when you're trying to enter in information and all of that, right? So, that's it. This module clearly will tell you a lot, right? We tell you different things. Well, you're going to identify the difference between a static website and a dynamic website. Going to understand the difference between when it says something is front end and back end. You're going to understand the difference between a domain and a hosting, right? You're going to understand what is servers, right? And when they say HTTP something, DNS something, what do they mean, right? Um, so yeah. Um, what is a website? Obviously, you don't need to define it too broad like that. Obviously, it's a place where collection of sites and pages are being seen, right? And we have a static website and we have a dynamic website. A static website is a fixed website. Fixed website in the sense that only previewed files are delivered to the user exactly as it is stored. It doesn't change, right? The content is the same for every visitor, right? It's just there, plain, right? It's designed to just be plain. It's not designed to be changing or to have any sort of interaction with it, right? The only interaction you have with it is just to see what is there, right? Um, they are extremely fast because they don't demand a lot of processing resources, right? Um, where the website is being stored, it's just like saying, I store my goods inside a store, right? Like storing your website files inside a server, right? The server is the place you are storing the web files, right? So, it doesn't demand enough processing resources from the server. So that's um um that's what a static website is all about, right? And it's more secure, of course, because if you have a static website that doesn't have an interaction, it doesn't have a database. So it's only something that has a database that you can easily hack, can easily get to the credentials to hack it, to take away the files and all of that. And they have low hosting cost. All these terminologies you're going to still understand what they are, like hosting, yeah, server and all of that. A portfolio website is an example of a static website. A landing page is an example of a static website. A documentation website is an example of a static website. These are websites that you don't see people interacting. You just read information about something on the website and all of that. And now, let's talk about dynamic websites. Dynamic websites are interactive with content, right? Um, you get to engage with the content. Files are being generated part time, and user can easily interact with it, right? These dynamic websites, obviously, they go beyond just displaying an information on the website, right? It changes, right? Let's take an example. Look at your Instagram app, look at your Facebook website. Look at your Facebook app, look at your, dashboard. If you have ever encountered a dashboard before, a dashboard where information goes in, you take in information, it processes those information. These are example of dynamic websites, right? Um, mostly examples of dynamic website is e-commerce, right? Any e-commerce website you see is a dynamic website because they take in products, they upload products, the customers see products in the front end, you know, and the customers can add the product to cart. After adding them to cart, it goes to checkout. From checkout, it goes to, making payments. The admin receives the order. These are dynamic websites. There's an interaction, there's a database involved, you know, and there's a custom content management system involved to manage the content of the website as input and output. Social media apps are examples of dynamic websites. Blog or news platform are example of dynamic websites. Yes. So yeah, that's that about um uh being having a dynamic website or a static website, right? Um, so websites are no magic. They are files stored somewhere, right? All the websites that you are seeing, right? They are not magic. They are not like they are just existing. No, they are stored at a particular place, right? They are stored at a particular place. When you visit an online store, right, it's obviously loading from a place, and that place is called a server, right? That place is called a server, right? That place is called a server. So these are, let's go to the next one. How does the internet works? Like I explained the other time, there's a request, right? When user types URL, the browser checks the cache and DNS. When it checks it, now the DNS resolved it, like interpreting whatever you have typed on your browser. It's just like saying, I'm in a restaurant and I type, I ordered chicken, right? Chicken salad, and the waiter checks the name, right? And uses that name to request from the kitchen chef, right? That this so order was being made from our customer. So that's exactly what is happening. That's exactly it. This is a cycle to understand it. A request for you request by typing a URL, browser checks the URL, it converts the whatever URL that you have put. Obviously, a URL is a typical URL is like google.com, right? It converts that domain name, which is that URL, converts it to a server IP, right? Because every URL, every server is connected to a particular domain. Every server is connected to a particular URL. So when it sees that URL, it will check and resolve that URL and see what server belongs to this URL. Once it gets it, what is helping you to convert it is what? DNS, right? Domain name server. That's the, you know, um, full meaning of DNS. After resolving it, it connects. There's something called transfer control protocol, right? This is like an handshake between the DNS and HTTP request sent to the IP, right? It just connects it together, right? When it connects it together, there's a response from the server. Now, server now send because you have ordered for the food, right? The chef understand that you want to eat this food. You have ordered it for the food. The next thing for the chef to do is to cook the food and give you the food. So that's what the server is doing. The server is now responding back with whatever file that is inside that server. Because if a server is expected to store a particular file, and these files that is being stored are in HTML, CSS, JS, right? I'm still going to go deep down in module 2, deep down into what HTML, JS is all about. So server sends the HTML file, the JS file, and CSS file. All your website structure is made up of three things, which sometimes it might not be up to three, right? Sometimes it depends on what the website is performing, the operation that is performing. Like most static websites now, that doesn't change at all. They're just made up of what? HTML and CSS. Some of them three, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. See the HTML as the structure, see the CSS as the design, and JavaScript as the behavior. So if you enter a website and you see that there's a behavioral interaction between you and the website, like in terms of the buttons, when you click them, it just changes to something. When you do something with a component on the website, it just changes to something. That's JavaScript working. CSS is the design. When you see something appealing to you visually, right? That's CSS in its job, right? HTML is basically the structure. See HTML as a building that has not been designed into full home. Like see HTML as a structure, right? A structure of a skyscraper that has not been, painted, that's not been, there's no plastering done. It's just bunch of bricks and all of that. That's what HTML is all about. So all these things are stored, right? They form a website. All these things are stored inside a server. And that's the response that the server is giving back, after the request has been made by what? By the user through the browser, right? And then it renders it to the user, right? It renders it to the user, right? So I talked about something called domain name the other time. Domain name is the URL you're putting on the browser. This name is so as to attach to a particular server, right? This name must be connected to a particular server. So to have a website, you need a domain name and you need on hosting. The hosting is just a term to give purchasing a server, right? You are going to purchase a domain name too, right? All these things are being purchased online, right? If you want to have a domain name, you purchase it online. If you want to have a hosting server, you purchase it online. They both go hand in hand. They are connected together to have your website to be online. If you don't have those two, you cannot have your website online. So, so it's like you are storing your web files inside the server and you have a name to that server so that people can easily just, connect to it so that people can easily access it. So it's just like see yourself as buying a plot of land, and an address to the land. If you buy a plot of land, you must have an address to the plot of land, right? So if people want to locate your plot of land that you just bought, they need to know your location, like your address, number, so, street, something, something, something. They need to know that. Once they get that address, that's how they get to locate your land. It's the same way domain name and hosting works. Domain name is the address, the plot of land is the server. Right. So that's how it works. So you've gotten the main idea of domain and hosting. Now let's shift to front end and back end. Front end by back end basically is just saying what is happening in the front of a website and what is happening at the back of a website, right? Um, this is where you see the difference, right? When some people call themselves a front end developer and some people call themselves a back end developer. I'll just explain their role for you now. Front end is basically what the user see at the, the same thing as the front, what the user see. And let me, if I ask you, what does the user see? They see design, they see layout, they see animations, they see the whole, you know, entities that you can see from the front of a website. That's what front end is all about. That's what front end is all about, right? And backend on its own side, this is like the things that controls the website from the back. And I'm telling you something like it has to do with database. It has to do with logic. They call something APIs, which we're still going to go into that, but not now. We're talking about logins, right? These are the things that controls anything that controls the website from the back is known as backend, right? Um, right. So it's more logic and database driven, right? That's for the backend. While the front end is just um visual layout, animations, and all of that, right? So yeah, I'm gonna be doing I'm gonna send um you guys a quick question and answer for you to, for you to go through, and then you respond to me back with that, with the answer to the question. Yeah. Thank you for joining this class. I'll see you at the next class. Yeah.